Hi, Justin. How are you?
I'm good, Paul. How are you today?
Perfect. I'm very good. First of all, thank you for your time in this interview. I was curious about your history, how you started off in the wrapping industry. Did you start as a sign maker, or did you go straight to car wrapping? So let me know a little bit how it went.
I moved to New York City in 1994. I graduated from college and had a couple ideas of what I want to do with my life. And at the end of the day, didn't know and had always wanted to move to New York City. I think as an American growing up, New York City is like the place to go. And so moved there, 21 years old, didn't know it at all, never had visited New York City. And after about 2 or 3 years, I was waiting tables, I was bartending, and I just happened to have a neighbor who lived upstairs who was a rapper. So he asked me to come work for him, and he wasn't a sign maker or anything. He was just straight installer, and basically hit the ground running. I mean, I wasn't allowed to touch vinyl for about 2 or 3 months, so I was just clean guy. I was just taking care of all the trash and kind of learning, through just kind of watching him work, and then just picked it up from there. And luckily, he had a big account for Time Warner. It was 800 cars, so it was Astro vans and cargo vans, Ford cargo vans. So that's what I really jumped into. So I was wrapping, 2 to 3 cars a day with a group of guys, and just fell in love with car wrapping. And after about a year, went off on my own and just was a freelance installer up until I moved to Amsterdam.
Okay, wow. And this first job, was it straight printed vinyl?
You know, I, at least in New York City, I was kind of in the right place at the right time for me because it wasn't. I didn't do a lot of cut vinyl signs. I didn't do a lot of basics to kind of install stuff. I went straight for like heavy duty car wrapping, recessed areas, mirrors, bumpers. So it's kind of skipped over all that. But luckily, I mean, he also did barricades. We did a lot of museums. We did FAO Schwartz back in the day. We did the windows every month. So I did get introduced to a wide variety of installs. It wasn't just car wrapping, but I would say 70% of the installs were car wrapping and 30% were walls and floors.
Okay, so you made your square meters in vinyls there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when did you move from installing to training?
Oh, well, it's interesting history. Back in 2001, there's a company in America called Auto Wraps, and I don't think they're around anymore. And basically, they were the first company to really kind of get the idea of putting wraps on people's private cars. So back around 1998, 1999, you could get, $500 to $600 a month for having your car wrapped and driving around New York City, for example. So I did a lot of those for them. And the guy who owned the company, Dan Schifrin, was obviously I think very forward thinking at the time, and he's like, I like how you rap, I like how you're fast. Why don't you start teaching people? And it just felt too early at the time. Back in 2001, I felt like I would have put a lot of people out of business. And then around 2005, 2006, I had someone I did a lot of raps for, and he says, "Why don't you make a DVD or start teaching people?" And so after the second person approached me, I thought, maybe I should. And my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, I remember we were driving around one day and she saw a nuclear power plant, and she's like, I don't even understand how that works. And so I explained to her nuclear energy and how it works and how it powers electricity. She was like, wow, if you can explain that to me and make it, understandable, you're a teacher, and her parents were both teachers. So it's kind of in her blood. And she saw the angle of how I could explain things quite simply. And so with her kind of pushing me, and then another person, Todd Labrie, pushing me, I thought, you know what, let's go for it. So I made my first DVD called Real Raps 101, and it was awful, awful.
And then it was quickly to the Rap Institute, or it was still Justin Pate then?
I was still Justin Pate. I made that right when I was moving to the Netherlands. So I moved to the Netherlands 2007. So Real Raps 101 came out then, but then I quickly kind of knew how to make a DVD at that point. So then in 2008, I came out with Vehicle Graphic Installations DVD, and then two more. So I had a combo set by 2009, and they're about 6 hours. So I basically had that DVD set up until about 2014.
If I look a little bit to your DVD work now and your videos that
Mm.
are online, this is really a huge step forward in the way you are recording and presenting, etc. But also everything behind it, your website, how to log in to for people. So how did you set all this up? Are you doing a lot by yourself and the editing and stuff?
At the beginning, yeah. I mean, up until 2014, as I said, I mean, everything was DVD. And even when I made my first DVD, it's like, what I love about the rap industry is it changes so much. So even after like a year of the DVD, there's parts of it where like, well, I wish I can go back and change that. And I couldn't.
Mhm.
So I had always thought it'd be cool if I could, constantly change the videos. So it's always was in my head of like, got to be great if this was online, I could, swap videos out or add new ones all
Mhm.
the time. So as soon as I felt the bandwidth worldwide was fast enough that people could handle streaming videos, like I was looking at lynda.com, for example, who's really
Mhm.
popular with, Adobe Illustrator videos and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I thought, okay, if they're doing it, then this is a good time for me to transition over. So I basically took a lot of the DVD content and made those into videos.
Mhm.
Figured out Final Cut on my own. Final Cut. Apple actually had a cool program for a while called One to One, and for
Ah,
$99 a year, you could go to any Apple store and get a 1 hour session with one of their uh, advisors,
oh
and it
wow.
was awesome. And I would do that like five five times a
Mhm.
week. So I
Mhm.
basically would have 5 hours of private tutorial from an Apple expert, and it was fantastic. So I learned Final Cut pretty quickly that way.
Mhm.
So basically, I started with a partner back in the day who owned a company in Dallas called Car Up City,
Mhm.
and we just winged it. We
Yeah,
built a
yeah.
website from scratch. I figured out the editing myself. We would get people to shoot video, and I would edit. Luckily, we had a lot of supporters. Frank Fellers in America.
Mhm. Mhm.
He's the world's largest wrap supply company.
Mhm.
And he actually, saw what I was doing, and he really kind of supported it, where he hired me to make a lot of videos for his website. So
Mhm.
it got me a lot of practice. And so we started off with 80 videos, and now we have almost 2,300.
2,300 videos. Wow, this is
Yeah.
amazing, and still growing, I guess.
Yeah, we try to put out at least five a week, five brand new videos a week. So this year in 2020, in spite of everything, we came out with 278 new videos, and that's just instructional videos. So now we've also pivoted into where we make product videos. So
Mhm.
let's say, for example, General Formulations or Avery or Hexus, they have a product like Avidentis is 1105. We just made a promotional video for them, so like a 60-second sexy
Mhm.
commercial, and
Mhm.
then also we're making a product video for them. So kind of more how the product works, and then so we probably made 100 of those this year. So basically, the Rep Institute, we have like a production side that just
Mhm.
makes video content, and
Yeah.
then we have the instructional side for training.
And if I look at your market growth, because in the beginning, of course, you were training in the US, and then you had your videos, your DVDs that were selling
Mhm.
great. Great. How much more customers or users did you reach by moving online? Was
Oh, a
it
lot.
something
I
like
mean,
20 times more or much more even?
I mean, yeah, I can't remember the numbers of the DVD sales, but yeah, I mean, it's been exponential, not only in terms of numbers of people. I mean, the Rap Institute has, over 10,000 members right now.
Oh wow.
A lot of people on from like over 68 countries at this point.
Mhm.
And obviously this year we had a big jump because of Corona and people sitting at home watching
Yeah,
and
yeah,
training.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would say it was a big jump, and I think part of that was due to just online access, worldwide.
Okay, fantastic. I want to talk to you a little bit about identification of sign
Mm,
companies. I did a blog about it some time ago on my website. Um, I've been a sign maker myself, also in the past. Um, and then a sign maker was like a typical name of a company. In the Netherlands also, they pushed the name towards the public very much, that the public realized what a sign maker was. But I think at the
mm,
moment there's a little bit changing in the market, and I think in the US it always was like this, because in the US you had the sign installers and sign makers and like wayfinding specialists, etc. And in the Netherlands it was just a sign maker who could do it all. And now all of a
mm,
sudden I think a little bit more. Yeah, do you still make signs? Because a lot of sign companies, I prefer to call them, they don't make signs anymore. They just buy and sell. And a
mm,
lot more companies have quit printing and they only install. You have the car wrappers, you have more interior decorators. Um, to what extent do you think, especially in this time, people should focus a little bit more what they in what they are good at, and not just have a broad range of products.
Yeah, I think the name of the game and what's great about the rap industry is passion. I would say, I think the people who are most successful that I know in the industry are they're doing what they're passionate about. So you could, if you really love PPF, then you're going to focus on PPF, and I think you can do that now. I think maybe 15 years ago the industry wasn't big enough, or that you really had to do everything to make money. And I think now you can just do PPF and live off that, or you can just do color change and live off that. So I think you do have the freedom now to really specialize and go after what really works for you. And for me, I love to rap. I mean, rapping is like a vacation for me now, given the fact I have so much to do in terms of admin and running the business of this size. But at the same time, I'm passionate about teaching. I mean, that is my number one goal. Is I love to teach people. I love to help people get more time in their lives, make rapping fun, make rapping interesting, and help them push the boundaries. That's what really turns me on every day, to get out and jump out of bed and teach people.
Yeah.
So, I've made a career out of that. I mean, I've been in this industry since 1996, and for the last since 2010, I've supported my family and myself just by teaching. So there's a niche for that.
Mhm.
So I think so. Basically, on based on your question, I would say, you can, I would say, really focus on what you're good at. If you love making signs, if you love to be a designer, if you love to do production, I mean, you can. I know people who are just making, like We Print Wraps in America, for example. They just produce wraps for people. They just, people call in, they send a design, or they buy one from them and they ship it out. So they're basically uh, they kind of are in between
Yeah.
company, and they're very successful and they're very happy doing it. They're a great company.
I saw some time ago also a website of John and Joe Doover, who you know
Mm.
very well, I guess.
Yeah.
And I saw on the website, and this I'm missing a lot with sign companies, that they're doing it very personal. So all the key people are on the website. They do a little story about themselves. They have a really cool video also. He made, I think, 2 months ago or something, when he is presenting his company very well.
Mm.
I miss this a little bit in the average sign company, but of course, they need to know a little bit more about how to present themselves, the website, social media, being very active on it, how to make a video. Could you give some pointers, maybe, how to use social media for an average
Mm.
sign company to promote themselves a little bit more?
Yeah, I think you should think about social media as like it's a muscle that you need to kind of work out and make sure that's in shape every day. I think it's something you can't let kind of go for a couple weeks. I think it's good to spend time and make sure you post at least once a day, with a message that obviously suits what you do, and just kind of showcases. Because even if you don't have a huge amount of followers, like I know a guy in Germany who only has maybe 2 or 3 thousand followers, but his customers are super avid and they watch a lot. And if they see a new project coming out, they're instantly calling and being like, okay, take the wrap off my car. I want that. So uh, I think you should just, it's part of your job at this point today. I think if you're not doing social media and you're not doing that kind of work on a regular basis, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, any one of those platforms, you're missing out. But at the same time, it does take time. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything, but if you're a busy wrap shop owner, I would say if you don't have time for it, there are a lot of kids in their 20s who really are into it, and you could hire them to do that for you, and it really pays off.
And would you recommend just if you focus, if you have a little time left, just focus on recording a lot of stuff and then keeping it like a B-roll, as they say, with photographers in the back, and shoot it, or let's say publish it whenever you need it. Otherwise, you need to focus, and then when it gets busy, you don't have time anymore to publish. Should they really just take a few days and make a whole bunch of content and share it when it's applicable?
Yeah, I think that works. I think you should get in the habit of, like, every time, let's say you do wrap a lot of cars. I mean, I would say maybe even like take a picture of the car moving in at the beginning of the day, not wrapped, and at the end of the day, take a picture of it moving out. And just say, morning, evening, this is what we do. We can turn around cars fast. But one thing I think you do have to keep in mind, that one thing that really helps in your engagement, increase a lot of views, is you do have to kind of comment and kind of work, really kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
engage with your audience. And if you
yeah,
don't do that, you're not going to be visible. So
yeah, yeah.
as much as you should, get a lot of pictures and a lot of stories built up, you should make sure that you take time throughout the day to, check in and comment back and
Yeah.
forth and,
Yeah.
really, really instigate that engagement.
Okay, perfect. If I look at your training, I saw that you also did some certifications. I think you do this for
Mm.
various brands. How important is it for a sign maker or a sign company or a rapper to be certified?
Oh, I think it's massively important. I think it's in terms of, uh, God, I mean, there's so many. Actually, we just had a what was called the Rap Experience that we did a huge 2-day event in November, and we had a panel discussion on certifications, and it was really interesting to, hear really successful installers in the industry, and all of them were saying, without a doubt, certifications are absolutely essential to,
Mhm.
landing big jobs, being connected to nationwide networks, whether you're in Europe or Australia or America. So it's a fuel for jobs for sure, but it also just really separates you from, your competition in your area, for example, who maybe has not got a certification, or let's say you have 4 certifications. The more certifications you have, the better. You cannot have enough.
Mhm.
So I think the more you get, the more you stand out, the more you just show that you're a high class installer or wrap shop. So it does take time, it does take money, and it can be extremely stressful to
Mhm.
pass those tests. But I think the payoff is absolutely worth it. I mean, I think, God, what did Jim Miller say? I mean, I think the amount of money he's made off of certifications is just, it's in the millions.
Oh, wow.
So it's well worth it.
Do you see a lot of difference between the US and Europe and other parts of the world in certifications and level and the skills of the people?
Um, it used to be really, really stark. I mean, the one thing that's been nice is, even from, being an American moving to the Netherlands in 2007, it was a shock. I mean, not that I was, a sloppy installer by any means, but I really had to change my style because, the Dutch and especially the Germans are super particular. They
Mhm.
need it a certain way. And there's just a level of installing that was much higher. But I think in America, it was lower, but then it's gotten to the point where I think with a lot of like the Rap Institute, for example, or YouTube videos that and Instagram and stuff like that, people are seeing the quality in
Mhm.
different countries. So they're kind of naturally raising their bar. So the quality difference, I think, is less and less, but the customer expectation, I think, in Europe is much higher. I think they
Yeah,
just
yeah.
expect a higher quality install. In America, they're okay with slight imperfections for the most part.
Mhm.
Where in Europe, or let's say Japan, good God, in Japan you can't you can't get away with anything.
Oh,
So
wow, wow.
yeah, yeah.
Even worse than Europe.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I think, but in terms of overall skill, what's interesting though is, in Australia, sign making is something that you apprentice in and you build your career in, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So in countries like Australia, for example, I do think the overall knowledge base and installer quality level is very, very high.
Mhm.
I think it's on par with Europe, if not higher. So it's kind of built into the culture. And I think in Europe, that is kind of also the case. In America, you more just kind of fall into it. It's not like a career you kind of build into, but
Mhm.
that is slowly changing.
How much opportunity do you see for rappers or sign companies to go into interior wrapping, walls, but also windows, furniture, etc., with di-noc and other furniture vinyls? Do you see this as a huge growing market, or maybe the growing market for the next years?
Yeah, I mean, if I was a betting man, if I had to invest all our family money in the future growth of the rep industry, I
Mhm.
would put all my money on PPF, and I'd put my money on interior films, without a doubt. I mean, I think interior films, if it catches on, which I definitely think it will, it's just a massive growth market because it's just a wider base
Mhm.
of people, and it's nicer in terms of your inside for the most part.
Yeah.
It's you can do more volume. You said get those square meters in for sure.
Mhm.
And I think interior film, especially when you get into hotels and you get into office buildings, you're really scaling at a massive level. And the installs, for the most part, aren't super technical. It's not like wrapping a bumper. It's more
Yeah.
like once you get the system and stuff like that. I mean, I know of a company, for example, in Japan, and they do almost 100% dyno installs, and they do
Oh,
all the
wow.
hotels, and they have 100 over 150 installers on payroll.
Wow.
It's a lot,
Mhm.
and they're just doing interior wraps. So we just, for the Wrap Institute, we already have our bookings are set up for the next 3 months in terms of filming and product videos. And there's a company in Luxembourg that we just booked a video shoot for, and they are called Cover Style.
Mhm.
So they make a similar interior product to like di-noc. And so, I mean, and they're super excited and they see a big volume in it as well. So, I mean, even the wall behind me in 2018, we renovated our house
Mhm.
and 3M sponsored the material. And we wrapped the walls, we wrapped the bathroom, we wrapped all the cabinets, and everything in our house is wrapped. So my wife was very understanding.
Okay,
So it's cool.
so no paint in the house with you.
No, paint, people always say paint is bad, but paint is great. So paint is not dead by any means. So, but luckily for a lot of things, we actually didn't have to paint it. We actually primered it. So we primered, skipped the paint.
Mhm.
Like for example, in the kitchen, we bought the kind of like the most basic IKEA kitchen that still looked good.
Mhm.
And then we wrapped it. And if you compare the high end kitchen that IKEA was selling to the one that we wrapped and that was the low end, you
Mhm.
can't tell the difference at all.
Oh, wow.
So that's the benefit as well. It's a huge savings, you know. And
Mhm.
there's a great company in Ireland called Digital, and they're really pushing towards interior as well. So I think
Okay.
it's I don't know. I mean, interior film, like on the videos on the Rapid Suit, for example, we can see what people watch, and people love to see mirrors and bumpers and the more
Mhm.
difficult stuff. And they don't really tune into the interior films, but that's what I'd be watching because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think there's huge money in interior films. Absolutely. And if I'm sorry if I'm going on too long, but we did a product video for Hexus
Mhm.
recently in the spring, and they have a product called Hexperience, which is really cool in the sense that you, instead of getting di-noc, which is kind of a preset, you know, piece that you're kind of stuck with Experience, you can actually print and customize like a wood grain to really
Mhm.
color match what the customer wants, like specifically, and then you can put like a wood grain lamination on top. So for me, I think if a lot of more companies start focusing on that, I love the flexibility of that. Because even when we did our house in di-noc, like this wall, for example, my wife looked at the swatch book and she thought, oh, that's a cool gold. And then when I
Mhm.
wrapped the wall, she's like, it's a little darker than I thought. So
Okay.
it'd be
Take it
nice to
off.
kind of customize print samples. Well, I don't want to take it off because I mean I didn't pay for it, but it was super expensive, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
just the idea of print, having the idea to really customize, to a customer's taste and really nailing that color. Because the one thing that's tricky about interior is people are very specific.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like they want their house to be that exact pink, and
Mm.
if you don't hit that pink, they're going to be not so happy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What is in store for the Rep Institute in 2021 and beyond? Because I saw that you have a big place in Germany where there's a lot of training
Yes.
going on. What is about this area there? Do we have similar thing in USA, or this is completely different?
This was an interesting year for the Rep Institute in the sense that we're we're going to have the ISA show in April, and we're during that time I approached Rainer Lortz and another person, Pascal Brocker, and they become our partners in Europe. And then COVID hit, and unfortunately, I mean, this is tragic. My partner in the United States, Scott Beck, and so that was sudden. It just took everyone by surprise. He was 44 years old.
Oh wow.
So that was a kind of the home base in America, and his wife didn't quite know if she wanted to continue having the company there. So we kind of shuttered the location in the United States. But luckily, with COVID and how everything worked out, we had already had the center in Munich built up.
Mhm.
So the focus kind of luckily shifted there pretty quickly. So we moved all our production there, and I don't know. It's been an interesting learning moment that we don't have to have locations in different countries to work in terms of production. But that being said, the Munich facility is absolutely stunning. I think for me, it's the best training facility in the world, without a doubt, in terms of just how it's laid out, the feel, the vibe, what you can do there. So we have really special workshops that we're
Mhm.
launching starting in March, and I can't say what they are yet, but we'll announce it January 10th.
Okay.
Really spectacular. I'm really excited. Rainer Lawrence is a very special trainer and installer. That being said, we're also opening a facility in France, in Lyon and Paris for training. And we're also opening a facility in Brazil and also in Japan. So we'll be
Okay.
kind of expanding there, doing lots of sign shows. We'll be working with ISA, tons of videos, online live events. So basically right now we have around 7 people on payroll, and then we have the team that builds the website and runs the website on the back end. So it's
Yeah.
growing quickly. It's exciting.
Okay. Wow, very interesting. Thank you, Justin, very much for this interview. If you have anything more to share, let me know. I will add it to the comments of the video. And for sure,
Awesome.
have a great day.